Hello, my friends. It's Tuesday, December 16th, 2025, and I'm your host, Radical Russ Belville, your Red State refugee. And welcome to the Radical Russ Show, your weekday morning wake and bake, coming to you from Rolla J Studios in Southern Oregon.
It goes down smooth. Hey!
On today's smoke session, let's talk about what a terrible asshole our president is. We'll also cover a little bit on the Australian gun control debate and the latest news on Whiskey Pete Kegsbreath, who has just become America's most prolific serial killer. But before we get to all the serious political stuff, we got time for 3 quick hits. And first off, I just want to let people know that I've dragged out my bass and I've started recording some play-along videos where I take a popular song, subtract the bass line from it electronically, and then play along with my bass and the tablature so that you can see what notes are being played. It's just a nice little way to keep my chops up, and I kind of figured out all the technology to do it, so I'm excited to spread it around. I already did one on the Little River Band's tune Reminiscing from the 70s, and there'll be one coming out this morning about 8 a.m. Pacific time from Looking Glass, the song Brandy, which is the namesake of my daughter-in-law. My lady love's daughter is named after that song, so check that out. Also, in our quick hits, I wanted to mention something I saw on TV last night. You know me and my hashtag 2BTV night, and one of the things I like to watch is the Family Feud channel that's out there. It's just, background fluff. And I watched this Family Feud special on YouTube, actually, and it was all the Family Feud episodes that ever had anything to do with pot. And so, of course, I had to watch that. And the question on Family Feud was, who would you be surprised wanted to smoke pot with you? Who would you be surprised if they wanted to smoke pot with you? And it was fun because Lady Love and I watched the 8 answers, and we've smoked pot with 7 out of 8 of them. So it was, would you smoke pot with your parents? Yep, done it. Smoke pot with your grandparents? Did not do that. Smoke pot with clergy or nuns? Yep, many times. Many Rastafarian clergy that I've smoked with, for sure. Smoke pot with your boss? I worked for Normal, for God's sake. It was like a job requirement. Smoke pot with your prudish boo? Well, I'm going to count my ex-wife as a prudish boo, although she wasn't terribly prudish, but from her hyper-religious background, the fact that she had smoked pot with me, I guess that would sort of count. Have you smoked pot with a politician? Oh, yeah. But I'm not going to tell you who. Have you smoked pot with your kids? Now, my lady love was able to answer yes to that. I can't answer yes to that because I have no kids. But if nieces count, then I would definitely get a point for that. And the final part was, have you ever smoked pot, or would you be surprised if a celebrity or Willie Nelson wanted to smoke pot with you? Both of us have smoked pot with numerous celebrities. My lady love with Greta Gaines, the Nashville music artist. I've smoked pot with Tommy Chong, famously, and a few other celebrities. Well, I can name a couple. I'll name Doug Benson. Smoked pot with him. Ron Funches, David Koechner from the Anchorman movies. Most of those come through my friend Ganja John, who knows a ton of celebrities. So, yeah, we both got a 7 out of 8. And I actually missed my shot to smoke pot with Willie Nelson. Speaking of my aforementioned ex, she was late picking me up to get out to the concert out there at the McMenamins, the one that's out there in Portland off the way out there by Troutdale, the rural one. Anyway, Willie was playing a concert out there. And since I was working for Normal at the time, I got an arranged interview time with Willie on the Honeysuckle Rose, on his bus. So I could have been on Willie's bus smoking pot with Willie Nelson, but my wife was late to pick me up and we didn't get there in time, and he'd already gone on stage. I did get the chance to stand on the side of the stage and watch Willie play and shake his hand as he got off stage, though. So I will always remember that. my final quick hit before we get into the serious political stuff is to also note the death. You know, we had so many of these deaths that happened this weekend. We also had the death of Anthony Geary. Remember Anthony Geary from General Hospital? He was the Luke of Luke and Laura back in the 80s when I was coming up, and GH was all over people's minds. But there was a great photo that came out that showed a guest appearance that Anthony Geary made on All in the Family. And he played a friend of Michael Stivic of Meathead, Rob Reiner's character, who was gay. And, of course, the episode was all about how Archie Bunker couldn't handle the gay guy, and there was all the confrontations that you'd expect from All in the Family. But it's just a heartbreaking picture to see Anthony Geary and Rob Reiner, and, for that matter, Carol O'Connor, who passed away in 2001, all in that picture. So rest in peace to Anthony Geary, and may his memory be a blessing.
Our top story tonight.
Our top story tonight.
The Alicia Francisco Franco is still dead.
Is still dead.
All right, to take on the serious political stuff, the thing everyone is talking about this morning, I no more than finished my quick little podcast from yesterday, where we were shocked by the murder of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner. And we were all shocked. We were all grieving. People were pouring out their hearts online. I saw all the tributes, all the people bringing up all his movies, Princess Bride, Misery, Few Good Men, Stand By Me, just one of the greatest runs a director ever had in the late 80s there, early 90s. So everyone was in the same state of mind, shock and mourning and sadness. And that's when our asshole in chief, the tangerine shit given that for some reason we've installed in the White House a second time, had to put out his message on this. And I'm going to read it. You've probably already heard it, but I'm going to read it because there's an aspect of this I don't think a lot of people are catching up on. Maybe a few have, but people are just shocked at the crassness and the disgustingness of it and the narcissism of it. Let me read it. A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling, but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife, Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, and with the golden age of America upon us perhaps like never before. May Rob and Michelle rest in peace. Now, everybody, of course, even Republicans are distancing themselves from this crass, rude, selfish, narcissistic, asshole statement. And pointing out that the real Trump derangement syndrome out there are the people that continue to support this monster after all of the evidence that he is not just the worst president ever. He may be one of the worst Americans ever. He may be one of the worst human beings ever. His dysfunction is going to be taught in textbooks for abnormal psych for decades. He's going to be the example of malignant narcissism. And as one of the posters on Blue Sky, Tyler Huckabee on Blue Sky said, "This is not behavior becoming of a FIFA Peace Prize recipient." Love that. But the thing I think people are missing out of this, he comes right out. Now, understand the timing of this. He posted this yesterday at 9:51 in the morning. The reports were still inconclusive about what had happened. It was, when it was first reported, there were 2 deaths at a home owned by Rob Reiner. We didn't even know for sure if it was Rob Reiner and his wife. And then we didn't know exactly who was involved or what had happened. And with all that still up in the air, still a mystery, the first thing Trump assumes is it was one of his people that did it. Reportedly, it wasn't reported, but reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive Trump derangement syndrome, his obvious paranoia at the Trump administration, due to the anger he caused others. Can you parse what he's saying there? Do you get the implicit threat there? He's saying Rob Reiner was killed because he angered one of my supporters. Donald Trump assumed, without any evidence, just assumed right out of the gate that because someone hated Trump, and boy, did Rob Reiner hate Trump, that it must have been one of his supporters that offed him. Donald Trump is telling you in this post that if you oppose Donald Trump, if you vocally and publicly call him out and hate him for what he is and what he's done to this country, he expects that one of his people is going to take you out. That's the most shocking part of this statement to me. Not that he made it all about himself. Of course, he made it all about himself. He's a narcissist. It's that he's telling America, this is what you get. This is what you get for opposing Trump. This is what you should expect. And he's also directing his people. This is what you should do. When you hear of people bad-mouthing Trump and the golden age of America, you're expected to strike out in his name. This is stochastic terrorism, pure and simple. It's exactly what he wants to happen. He thrives on it. He loves the idea of people committing violence in his name. Can't we just shoot the protesters in the legs? January 6th was a day of beauty. There was a lot of love there. Charlottesville, there were very fine people on both sides. He craves it. He wants the violence. He wants America to erupt into a violent, lawless hellhole all over him. He wants wars fought over him. He doesn't know how to create, only how to destroy. He only knows how to slap his name on something someone else has already created. The end of this man's presidency cannot come soon enough. In any normal, functioning democracy, the 25th Amendment would have been invoked months ago. It's clear he's not well. It's clear he does not care one bit for what happens to this country.
Listen, my friend, this is a matter of national importance.
Also want to talk a little bit about the terrible massacre at Bondi Beach in Australia, because we're getting a lot of the posts coming across about that, and it has ignited, along with the shooting at Brown University, where apparently there's still a gunman at large. They still don't have a suspect in the shootings at Brown University, after the president had gone and prematurely said that they had a suspect in custody. Oh, oops, nope, I guess we don't. So we have people terrified in Rhode Island, people terrified in Australia, Jews once again suffering a horrific act of anti-Semitism. And so this brings up the gun control debate in the United States of America, because the righties have seen this. And they want to come out and say, oh, see, you guys, you're always bringing up Australia. Australia got rid of all the guns after their mass shooting, and they haven't had mass shootings. Aha, see, they just had a mass shooting. See, your gun control doesn't work. Hey, you want to know how you know that gun control works in Australia? Because we can talk about the Australian shooting. I don't have to call it the Bondi Beach shooting. I can call it the Australian shooting. And you know what I'm talking about, because they only have one every 29 years or so. And no, they didn't get rid of all the guns in Australia, obviously, but they're heavily regulated. Do you notice those guys were shooting long guns? The pow, pow, pow kind of guns, not the pow, 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 pow kind of guns. That the timing in between the shots were what allowed Ahmed al-Ahmed, the Muslim immigrant hero, to wrestle the gun away from one of the assailants. That these guys had 6 guns. They say these guys were heavily armed. These assailants were heavily armed assailants. They had 6 guns. 6 long guns. Heavily armed in Australia means a dude who had 6 guns, all 6 of them registered with the government, for which he had to get a license. And already the Australians, in response to this, is not, throw up your hands, there's nothing we can do about the guns. Their first response is, we're going to have stricter gun laws. Their first response is, hey, maybe this license we give out to guys to have firearms, it shouldn't be permanent. Maybe we ought to have it renewed every so often because people get radicalized over time. Maybe the guy who passed your psych eval back in 2000 isn't so on top of his game now in 2025. So already Australia is going to tighten down their gun laws in reaction to this horrific act of violence. In America, a dude who owns 6 firearms is on every block, in every town. I can go to any town in the United States of America and probably find you a guy who owns 6 guns that the government has no idea he owns, that he's able to buy as much ammunition as he wants and as many of those guns as he wants, and they can be semi-automatic weapons that are easily convertible into fully automatic or a simulation of full automatic with a bump stock. That's your difference. In Australia, I can reference the Australian shooting. In America, I have to give you a city and a date. On some days, I have to give you an address for you to pick out which mass shooting happened in America. And I know the righties out there, here we go again. There's another shooting. All the gun grabbers are going to come out. And I've said it many times on my show for over a couple decades now. I'm a gun owner. I'm a veteran. I support the Second Amendment. I just support all of it, including the first clause that talks about a well-regulated militia. And I think we ought to get back to the well-regulated militia. I think we ought to design a militia card. We ought to design something around that well-regulated militia idea that says if you want to have a gun, great, but you're going to be part of this well-regulated militia in order to keep it. And part of the well-regulated is going to be that we're going to know what guns you have. We're going to mandate that you store them in a certain safe way. We're going to keep track of ammunition purchases. We're going to restrict what types of guns can be owned. And I'm not even one of the guys that says we got to get rid of the AR-15s. I know a lot of people, the assault weapons, man, we got to get rid of the assault weapons. I would even allow people to still continue to own AR-15s. There's just going to be some paperwork. There's going to be an annual fitness test for it. There's going to be some higher level of responsibility. We've gone, with our guns here in America, we've gotten the first part of Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. We got to also have responsibility with our rights. We all have the right to drive a car, but we can't just drive any car we want, anywhere we want, anytime we want. We have the right to build houses and buildings, but we can't just do it anywhere we want, anytime we want, any way we want. There's regulations and codes and permits and inspections and licensing and insurance. That's all I'm asking. But these gun nuts with their shall not be infringed. There cannot be any restriction whatsoever on guns, even though every other right that we have in the Constitution has some level of restriction on it, some level of regulation on it. These people want to live in a world where the only thing that is completely laissez-faire and unregulated is guns. And even they don't really believe what they're saying, because none of them out here are arguing for the relaxation of fully automatic M60 machine guns. Nobody's out here lobbying for people to be able to own light anti-tank weapons and howitzers. So we do, all of us, even the gun people, have this line that we've set up where we said, okay, here's the civilian guns and here's the military guns, right? We don't think the civilians ought to have 50 cals out there. We don't think they ought to have, the higher end, machine guns and claymore mines and stuff like that. So we all agree there's a line between civilian and military. The debate here is just about where to put that line and how much regulation is required to cross that line. Let's start having some serious and responsible conversations about this. And you always get these folks that say that we got to have the Second Amendment protect us against tyranny. We got to have the Second Amendment have our guns in case the government decides to get tyrannical. Well, we're waiting. Like we got that little meme, come on, do a resist tyranny. Come on, NRA, where are you? This is where we're supposed to resist tyranny. We've got masked thugs run by the government in unmarked vans, unlabeled uniforms, grabbing people off the streets because of their skin color, rousting them, throwing them into vans, taking them away to detention facilities, deporting them without due process. What kind of tyranny are you waiting for? Because I think I know what tyranny is. Tyranny is when, black people and women start telling white men what to do. That's the tyranny the guns are for. Is to keep white supremacy in place, to keep patriarchy in place. To be able to resist democracy in which the voice of the white man, the straight white man, might not always be in the majority. Might not always get what he wants. If anyone really wants to understand the gun debate in America, I can offer you no better example. Go find yourself the video of Michael Moore's movie, Bowling for Columbine. Now, you don't have to watch the whole movie even. There is a little cartoon in this movie. I remember it's like 3-4 minute cartoon that explains the history of guns in America in a much more accurate and succinct way than any other book, film, discussion, talk I've ever heard on the issue. We're in love with guns here because we use them to oppress, and we use them to commit genocide, and we use them to steal land and to force people to work on that land. And white folks have this genetic cultural memory of it. And this fear that if we ever let down our guard, all those people that we've been oppressing, all those women's and gays and minorities we've been oppressing, well, if we don't keep them down, if we don't keep the thumb down on them, they're going to do unto us what we did unto them. That's really what it's about. This white fear of being treated as a minority. What, do we treat minorities badly in this country? Yeah, kind of taste of the own medicine that white folks aren't ready to be tasting. And thus the guns.
They don't vote Democrat, they don't drive Cadillacs, and they never use personal vehicles.
And one final note before we close things up today. We got 3 more of those military strikes in the Caribbean by Whiskey Pete Keg's Breath. Brings the death toll now up to 95. 95 people we've just openly executed in the Caribbean Sea because we think they're running drugs on drug boats. What's 95 murders, right? With these killings, Whiskey Pete Keg's Breath now moves into the lead for the most prolific serial killer in American history. This is beyond John Wayne Gacy. This is beyond Ted Bundy. Any of those terrible, terrible criminals. They killed 60, 70 people. Whiskey Pete's up to 95. And we're still waiting for those videos of the so-called double tap strike where they killed 2 shipwrecked survivors. Just blew them out of the water. They don't want to have any survivors because survivors can testify to Congress. Survivors can testify in court. Survivors can say, hey, we weren't running drugs. We were running migrants. We were trying to get away from Venezuela, seek a better life. When the United States acted as judge, jury, and executioner, just openly murdering these people on the high seas. There's got to be consequences. There has got to be consequences for this. And the thing that disturbed me a bit, I saw that the Democrats had a press conference this morning. And there's a big placard. Prices are higher. Oh my gosh, the prices have gone up so much. Affordability is a big problem. Okay, yeah. But we always have those kind of issues. Like that press conference placard could be a press conference placard from 1981 or 1993 or 2006, or you could have put that in any administration. Democrats continue to fight against this administration like it's just another Republican administration. See, the Republicans have messed up your economy again. Where is the fight from the Democrats to point out this is not a normal administration? This is a normal administration being led by a convicted fraud, twice impeached, insurrectionist, traitor, adjudicated rapist, pedophile protector, Russian asset. This is beyond, oh, the prices are high. Yeah, the prices are high, sure. But we're in code red alert emergency right now, Democrats. Your press conference should be hammering home the statement that Trump made about Rob Reiner. It should be hammering home these extrajudicial murders on the open seas, the flagrant corruption, accepting jets and gold bars and crypto and making sweetheart deals and trading money for pardons and just rank corruption. When Democrats come out here and play the prices are high game, the Trump administration, they said they'd do X, but they did Y. You're playing into framing this as just same old politics and making the average normie out there think, oh, well, yeah, Democrats don't like Trump because he's a Republican, and Trump doesn't like them because they're Democrats, and it's just politics as usual. People need to see Democrats' hair on fire. People need to see alarm and alacrity. Need to see that this is not normal, that we are in grave danger, that the end of America is nigh if we don't right this ship. These extrajudicial assaults in the Caribbean are just one of the myriad ways that this is manifest in our country and needs to be brought front and center every morning. I'm glad the Democrats had a press conference. Don't get me wrong. They should be having a press conference every morning. Every morning should be like what I'm doing here. Coming to you in the morning and saying, what bunch of fresh bullshit has Trump cooked up now? Are you ready for a change yet? Give me a call, Hakeem. Give me a call, Chuck. My consulting fees are low. Well, that's all the time we've got for today. The Radical Russ Show is produced, directed, researched, written, recited, posted, and catered by me, Radical Russ Belville, and governed by Creative Commons share-alike licensing. News, music, and video clips and social media posts are reproduced under fair use copyright laws for commentary and analysis. My main theme is We Love the Herb by Herbal Nation, and interstitial music is by Russ Boom Boom Belville, which brings us to our post-credits scene. With all the deaths that have happened with Anthony Geary and Rob Reiner and the folks out there on the on Bondi Beach and Brown University, one other celebrity death kind of got lost in the shuffle, and that is of the R&B singer Carl Carlton. Carl Carlton had two major hits that you'll remember. He did a 1974 cover of Everlasting Love, which I think is the best one. Carl Carlton's Everlasting Love, I think, is the best one. And, of course, his big disco-era hit, She's a Bad Mama Jamma. Carl Carlton, dead at the age of 72. You can contact me by email at radicalruss@gmail.com. Call my message line at 877-RUSS-420. That's 877-877-420. And reach me on social media on Blue Sky as radicalruss.com and nowhere else. You can support this podcast financially by donating to Radical Russ on Venmo, Rad Russ on Cash App, or via PayPal on my website at radicalruss.com. Get this podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, my website, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and until tomorrow, take care of each other.